Now, last story this hour, Kiev says the recent attacks in which 2 Ukrainian soldiers were killed have been orchestrated by Moscow. President Petro Poroshenko said the fresh bloodshed is due to Russia's supplying of the militias with powerful weapons. The 2 soldiers were killed in fighting with pro-Russia forces on Saturday. Kiev says 20 soldiers were also wounded in the clashes in the mostly Russian-speaking Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine. The pro-Russian forces want independence from Ukraine, but Kiev has rejected their demand. Fighting between the 2 sides has claimed 4,700 lives. Here's more.
Ukraine's military says renewed fighting with pro-Russian forces have caused deaths among its soldiers in the Luhansk region. The flare-up of violence comes despite a truce which the 2 sides agreed on December 9, in an effort to reinforce another peace agreement they had signed in Minsk in September. None of the agreements has been able to halt the fighting, which erupted in April 2014. The unrest began after pro-Russian seeking independence refused to recognize new Western-backed authorities in Kiev. UN figures show that fighting has left more than 4,700 people dead so far. Over 1.2 million more have been forced to leave their homes, with half of them taking refuge in other countries. According to Amnesty International, eastern Ukraine is nearing a humanitarian catastrophe as residents struggle to get food and medicine. The conflict in eastern Ukraine has caused severe tensions between the West and Russia. The West accuses Moscow of fueling the conflict by supporting pro-Russian forces and has slapped sanctions on Moscow. Russia denies this and has banned food imports from a number of Western countries in response to the sanctions.
I think we're seeing is this conflict is settling into a kind of a festering, frozen conflict with no particular resolution in sight. In the meantime, yesterday, Mr. Siluanov, the Russian finance minister, declared that Ukraine was in violation of the terms of a $3 billion loan from Moscow, which was in a position to call for its immediate payment. They have not yet decided whether to do that, but if they did, that would likely push Ukraine into default. So things are getting very, very precarious on Kiev's side. Meanwhile, there is no resolution to the eastern conflict.
Foreign ministers from Russia, Ukraine, Germany, and France are due to meet in Berlin on Monday to discuss the situation in Ukraine and the implementation of the Minsk peace plan. Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko has also invited his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, as well as leaders from Germany and France, for talks which are scheduled in Kazakhstan next week. So far, efforts have failed to bring an end to the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. The situation becomes more complicated, considering the fact that it's not only a Ukrainian internal issue, but also a matter of growing tensions between Russia and the West. This has provoked the worst crisis in their relations since the Cold War.